the RoundTable is, professionals in the real estate industry is more about business, but it's also trying to help the generation coming, and also to ensure that as much as possible, some of those stories we think are just normal to us, we don't realize that it does a lot for others. So it's basically just impact, vulnerable conversation.
Parenting means you have to be all in. It's nurturing your child from infancy to adulthood. As parents, we're not right all the time.
Something about the child that does chores in terms of being independent. Kole, it's good to have you here. I think first of all, before we even kick off, apart from being buddies from way back, one of the most important things, or will I say, some of the things that have stood out for me is the trajectory of where your career, basically. And then that is even bringing us to our conversation about parenting. I feel it's one thing that, people don't really hear much about. And because of the background, I'm sure they will know why they need to listen to you. So please, can you just tell us a bit about your background?
Well, I think by some sort of, I don't know what to call it, destiny or providence.
Divine intervention.
I wouldn't probably, not more divine intervention, but so I ended up being an educator.
Okay.
But again, I think the topic itself, parenting, is something that I think I've probably been very passionate about even before I became a parent. Is
there a reason for that?
I don't know. I think from the youngest of age, I kind of always wanted to meet my children, and I kind of had this idea of how they would look like, how they would be, and all that, and the responsibility I had. When I eventually met them. So it was funny that even when myself and my wife were dating, I always used to talk about my children and all that.
You used to see the future, basically.
Kind of knew. So I kind of knew that I was going to have a daughter first, and so I'd always talk about her and all that and everything. And my wife was like, "How do you know?" And I was like, "Well, I think I just know," and all that. And so after that, I had a daughter first.
Okay.
And then parenting has kind of been the biggest meaning in my life. Probably bigger than every other thing. And I think parenting means you have to be all in. It's nurturing your child from infancy to adulthood. It's the emotional support, financial support, the education, the tough love, the discipline, and probably everything that goes with it. That said, from person to person, parenting is probably different. But at the same time, like anything that has such a wide spectrum, you would find that they're standards. So no matter what, no matter the amount of ideas that as human beings that we have about parenting, there are still certain standards that I think, would protect the sacred responsibility and act of being a parent. So again, we've spoken about this a couple of times, and one of the things I said was that if I were ever going to go into any kind of podcast, it would be to just listen to people's ideas on parenting.
Good.
And in fact, when we look at society today, and even any society at that, I would say, the critical part of the success of any society is fundamental in terms of not just the family, but the type of parenting that you had. And I mean, I've had the opportunity to read so many autobiographies, and that seems to be a sticking point in terms of, and at times, parenting does not necessarily have to come from, I mean, the biological parents.
Yes.
As they say, I mean, it's very cliche when they say, okay, it really brings up a child. But really, I mean, to a large extent, it does. So yes. So I think it's a very, very important topic.
Yeah.
And as parents, I mean, we're not right all the time, but we share our experience, we share our love, and that responsibility to ensure that, I mean, we bring up our kids better than how we would have been. And I think one of the things, or how we're brought up, I think one of the things that is quite important for me is that I think parenting has given me the opportunity to relive my life again from scratch. So, and it's given me that idea that, I mean, even from the first day I picked up my daughter from the hospital, it was that one that, okay, so this is how I came into being. And I started a process of learning and understanding and also sharing. And I guess, I mean, let's be honest, I mean, the verdict on whether I've been a good parent or not will be on them.
It'll be on them.
Not necessarily on me.
Yeah, so it will be an extension of this.
Yes.
To ask some children about, say, you know, having that conversation. So just to take things further, Nigeria is a lot happening. First of all, you know, we always have this thing about how our parents sort of, you know, parented us, so to speak, and we always want to do better.
Yes.
Or we want to do better than, you know, we grew up in a certain area, we don't want our children to go through the same thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I worry about the fact that we pamper these kids too much, in the sense that some of the things that have made us tough, we mentioned tough love earlier,
Yes.
some of the things that have made us tough, at the end of the day, those are the things that are helping us to do what we do today. You know, so how do you balance that? I mean, I'm sure we might not have the answer to that, but it's just a conversation to see how. And the reason I'm even bringing this conversation on is that for you, you're being centered where you've been able to probably interact with a lot of parents, both here in Nigeria and the UK. And it's easy for you to even take that demography and say what you think is, you know, happening positively or negatively. So what do you think? I mean, a lot of people want to create that better life, give them all they want, they have 5 house helps, they have, you know, several things happen. What do you think is that, will I call it that formula that will make it work? Or, you know, from what you've seen, the percentage of what you've seen that has gone well, I know it's not just with the parents, it's also with the child, but definitely the parents have a lot to do. And this is across different stages of life. Nursery school, primary school, secondary school, university, they just move from different stages, and I believe it happens in different ways. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good question that you've asked. Now, there's always that temptation, I mean, that we want to give our children a better life than we have had.
Yes.
And also, with that temptation, comes with the fact that at times we judge our parents for the type of parenting that they've given us. I mean, that's every single one of us. I mean,
yes, there's always one.
Even if you were brought up by an angel, I mean, I think part of the judgment would be, oh, you are too much of an angel bringing me up.
So what are you doing when your mates are
yeah, so I mean, we can ask as much questions as possible, but I mean, to a large extent, I think they're fundamentals, and I think part of that fundamental is being intentional and being present very early. The Bible says something that you bring up a child in the way he should grow, and when he's grown, he won't depart from it. Yeah. Now, I think a lot of times the major problem is we have parents who want to start bringing up their child when they are grown. Okay? So again, and believe me, that process starts from when the child is 0, first day. And I think I was kind of blessed in a sense to have a friend that was maybe a bit more experienced than me then, because he had maybe 2 children. I think one of the things he told me, even from when my wife was pregnant, was, come in. These kids are smart. I'm like, what do you mean by these kids are smart? So they're, well, you know what I mean? Yes, it's a baby and all that, but you see, they might not be able to talk to you, but they're thinking. They're analyzing situations. They know when they are hungry. They see something that they want and they would pull a tantrum and everything. You now have to make sure that as a parent, you are understanding even those, I'll call it the language without words. The gestures, what they mean, when they're being stubborn, and how to deal with it even from that very early
when they don't want something, when they're being naughty.
When they're being naughty, and how to correct those things early. Still goes back to bringing up a child the way he should grow. You don't wait till adulthood, because I think a lot of times the mistake I see quite a number of parents make is, oh, you know what I mean, I'll correct this later. There's no need for me to deal with it, it's just a baby. But whether you realize it or not, that baby is learning to set his or her own boundaries with the parent. Is identifying things that, okay, you know, I can probably get away with this type of misbehavior. I can probably get away with this type of stuff and all that. And if they're not corrected on time, then you have a situation whereby a child grows up and the child is dysfunctional. And dysfunction can come in various ways. I mean, situations whereby they're not reasonable, they do not want to follow instructions. And a lot of times that comes through a process of passive parenting. I mean, again, like I said, there are various views and understanding to this particular topic. You would have seen in this age whereby, I mean, parents at times would just leave a child and say, okay, well, I mean, whatever the child wants, the child gets. Or you see whereby there's situations whereby they say, okay, well, I mean, if the child feels like not doing certain things, but I mean, since they feel like it, then we would accommodate those feelings without trying to ensure that, I mean, there's an approach to it and all that, and without trying to understand it and trying to correct it if it comes from a place of being maybe malicious or antisocial and all that. So I think, like you rightly highlighted, our parents put a lot of things in place in bringing us up, and I don't think there is any place for how I put it, because you mentioned something like, I mean, 7 house helps.
Oh yes,
that
comfort. So creating that comfort.
So yes, comfort is important, but not to the detriment of the child. Again, the things children can do for themselves, make sure that they do it. The way, I mean, obviously, you should bring up a child, how they eat and everything, make sure you do it. Again, I mean, I remember my mom, she was big on things like, I mean, don't eat in between meals. Don't take too many sweet treats and all that. So all those things are very, very important. I mean, getting a child to do chores.
Yes, I heard that, and I've heard it several times that there's something about the child that does chores when they grow up.
Yes.
In terms of being independent, in terms of running business and all that, and you wonder how those things relate. You know, so those are the kind of things that, you know, you wonder something this small. You know, when you're saying the child must do chores as opposed to those, and I think it just brings in responsibility.
Yes, it does.
Okay, I have to do this at this time, even if I like it or I don't, I must do this thing. You know, at their level, those are the things that can, you know, sort of teach them how to plan their time,
Yes.
and basically responsibility. So hearing that, it also shows that there's a place for that, in parenting, where you need to ensure that the child is, as much as possible, has some kind of responsibility.
Yes.
Because you see, you can see those that now go abroad and you can't do anything for yourself.
Yes.
And you wonder what's the issue. And at that point, it's always, let me call daddy.
Let me call daddy. When you failed as a parent is when your child is supposed to be independent and you're still parenting even at that stage. So again, you have to build that resilience and that self-discipline in every child.
Yeah.
It's hard work. I'll call it the dirty side of parenting. It's never pleasing, but at the end of the day, it pays off. Because, like I said, when they're grown and they can imbibe that discipline, then they will thank you for the tough love. They will thank you for the discipline. Even though, we all hate discipline. Let's be honest. I don't think there's anybody on the face of the earth that enjoys the consistency of discipline. At times you want to take a break. At times you feel, do I have to?
It's never comfortable.
It's not. But at the end of it all, if you're consistent with the values that you want to see in your children, if you're consistent with ensuring that they take personal responsibility for themselves, for their environment, for their family, eventually it all pays off. Again, like I said, I think one of the things that parenting has done for me is the opportunity to see myself again through the eyes of my children. So at times, some of the questions that they ask, I kind of look back and I can see my younger self asking some of those questions.
I think some of those things will make you appreciate probably some of the things that happened in your time.
Of course.
Even if you were rebellious about it at that time, you're probably going to look at it and say, look, maybe this is why. Now I understand why. And now I understand why this is happening to daddy. At a point, I realized that it takes you a while to start to think about even yourself and what you want to sort of buy for yourself. And then I used to wonder, this was why my dad never really bothered about such things. He just used to always want to make sure your fees and everything was sorted out. And you could see him wearing the same suit, the same. And then you can do something, and so I get to understand that because your mind doesn't even go there, particularly if you're a responsible one. What's your take on punishment and, that whole saying, spare the rod and spoil the child?
Well, there's several schools of thought when it comes to spoil the rod and spoil the child. Some people say, it's probably an allegory for something else, meaning the Bible isn't trying to tell us that, use the rod or flog your child. Again, I would say it depends. And again, it depends a lot on the type of child.
Yes, because the child is not that stubborn.
Yes. It depends on the kind of child, but again, it's also not a one-stop shop. You see, because at times the mistake parents can make is that they think, punishment, corporal punishment, flogging is a one-stop shop. So, anything that goes on, then it now gets to the point whereby it becomes battle. So essentially, it's not. So again, there are times whereby the child needs a good spanking. Then yes. Like I said, it's better to do it earlier than doing it later in life. Doesn't mean there isn't a place for it. Because one of the things I always say is this: society is not going to spare you. And the reality is, if any of our children fall foul of the law of society, society is going to deal with you. And society punishes even far harsher than any kind of spanking or retribution. A responsible parent can give. And I think, I have to put that word responsible, because again, there are parents that might take that process too far.
Yeah.
But I 100% believe that there's a place for it. Again, it depends on the child. There are some children that probably have never been spanked because there's no need for it really. Mm-hmm. They always did the right thing. They always behaved themselves and all that. So, and whereas some, got a good hiding from their parents because they kind of fall foul. But again, it's important to inculcate early if it's necessary. Mm-hmm. There's something about having a healthy fear for your parents. Again, because at times, people attribute fear with negativity. Yes. Fear is not all negative, and that's why it's a very, very clear emotion. It's there to kind of make you realize, there's some sort of danger.
Yes.
Ahead.
This line, if you have an instruction.
Yes.
So
it's there so that you can, as a human being, you can manage danger. If not, there's no fear for anything. People
no boundaries.
Yeah, people there are no boundaries. People do the most reckless things that you can ever think about. And I think there is a major place. I know there's a school of thought now in modern society that would say, oh no, it's barbaric. It's I've heard several things. It's violence against the child and all that. And I think all this very sweet and seemingly intelligent words to describe a process of discipline. At times, yes, it sounds almost true. Yeah. Especially when we see situations whereby you have irresponsible adults that would batter a child or beat a child to death and all that and everything. So again, when you see that, then at times it almost negates the importance of that disciplinary process, because some school of thought might say, totally scrap it and all that and everything. But for a responsible parent, there's a place if it is necessary. And like I said, the advice is done earlier than later. And again, it's better done than society doing it for you, because if your child grows up with a certain level of antisocial behavior,
society will deal with it.
Yeah, society will deal with it, and society will deal with it in far harsher terms.
Yes.
You would, if a policeman is arresting you for disorderly behavior or violence that you haven't been able to manage, or maybe a situation that's far more sinister. A lot of times, they would use justifiable violence.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yes. So you need to clip that early.
Yeah.
So the other side of this, right, which is making it get interesting now. The other side of this is you being approachable as a male. In this case, I would even ask you in terms of a female child.
Yes.
We always say it's best that they could talk to the parents so they don't get advice from outside. Obviously we know the kind of concerns we have with the girl child. Also, it filters to boys as well. So how do you manage that discipline part and the fact that they should be able to approach you for anything? And I like the fact that you mentioned some kind of mentorship that happened in the start of your parenting journey, because it's important you also understand how to do that. Some people don't even have any headway or example, and they just get into it. Part of what we're thinking through the podcast is to look for what people need and see if they can get that sort of mentorship ahead of time. Because the truth is, I'm filtering it into another question, so I think we'll just focus on the fact that let us see, can you that balance sort of between you disciplining the child and then you trying to be a friend of the child, so to speak. They can tell you anything, I'm not particular about the girl child, but you have two girls, and I'm sure this getting to teenage stage. It's a very it's something that I'm sure you will have gone through.
So there's stages in the process.
Yes.
You can't start out with being friends with your child. I mean, there's a place for friendship. There's a place for enjoying the company of your children. But I think you have to remember from the very, very get-go that it's an important responsibility. Essentially, you're at work. And from the very onset, you nurture, you discipline, and as they get older, it now enters into a phase of coaching. And obviously, you're coaching them and you're preparing them for life. You're preparing them for a lot of the things that you have masked from them, maybe by virtue of their upbringing, by virtue of their social standing. There are a lot of things that they would not necessarily see, or even if they see, they can't relate to. And I say this because, I mean, if you are at a level in society whereby you're affluent and you can give your children, I mean, better than the basics, there's a lot that they won't understand or see. And obviously, at some point, you now have to start coaching them. You now have to start mentoring and making sure that they understand these things. And a lot of times, I mean, that's why we get this word adulthood not scam. And when a young, a teenager or young adult grows up and gets to that point whereby, I mean, they have to face the rigors and responsibilities of life, at times they might have this idea that we've always wanted to be adults. So again, I mean, every young person, I mean, your ambition is to become an adult. Then when you become an adult, then
I wish I could go back to.
Then you want to go back.
I go back to the time of the child.
Now the child. But you see, the adulthood that scam oftentimes stems from the fact that you hide things from your children to the point whereby they become fully grown adults. And they now pass through a period of heartbreaking discoveries. Because obviously you haven't told them that life is hard.
The hardship that most of them see, that's why you hear about the suicide attempts and all of that. The hardship that we probably have seen and gone through it. And that's what bothers me, because again, as they are saying this, let's even put into context this whole period where you could see anything online, you know. So that's why I feel this mentorship and this coaching, like you're saying, is very, very important. You know, the girl comes to meet you and says, I think the young guy is calling me at 10 or 9. I mean, obviously, as a father, you first shiver. But then again, how do you deal with such a situation?
So I think from the get-go, I mean, it's, as a parent, you have a responsibility to start from the get-go informing your children about their body. So this was something that...
But it looks like it's supposed to be earlier now than before.
Yes, I mean, so I can tell you that, I mean, even from when my children could crawl, we started telling them about their body. Before they even started school, nursery or anything, and in ways that they could understand. If someone should try and touch you here, it's no, and everything. It's naughty to do this. It's not so. So they started understanding it. So they started having a consciousness that, okay, listen, I'm not supposed to behave this way. I'm not supposed to sit down this way. So even from as early as 1-2 years old, if my daughter sits down, I'll tell her to cross her legs. I'll tell her to put her legs together, because that's the way a lady should sit. And I think even from my own parents, I mean, my mom, I mean, if you notice, I mean, every now and again, I'm always crossing my legs. My mom always was very insistent on that. A gentleman would sit down and cross his leg and you put your hand this way and all that and everything. But all those things were kind of important. I would tell them about these things, and I would make sure that they imbibe it. No one should touch you in your private areas. And they understood that clearly, where the private areas were. And again, they understood what their personal space meant. Again, your personal space is about an arm's length. If someone's coming too close, then they're not listening to you. You're the back away. I mean, or if there's an opportunity to report it or raise an alarm, then you do. So again, all those things were very, very key. And you see, whether we like it or not, experience. I mean, if someone's trying to catcall my daughter, it's not something that would scare me because it's something that I expect would happen in society at some point in time. But again,
you shouldn't shy away from the fact that it's reality.
Yes.
There's some experience.
No,
there's a frenzy. What is that talking to you?
No, so for me, that's not frenzy. I mean, because yes, some parents make the biggest mistake about that process.
Yes.
Some even, I mean, for no reason would see such a situation and immediately assume that their child is being flirtatious.
Yes.
And some would even beat them.
The daughter comes and tells you something like that.
Yeah.
The next thing is
some will even
punishment.
Yeah, some will even beat them and everything, punish them, ostracize them, disgrace them, even sort shame. Whereas it's a massive learning opportunity and an opportunity to have a discussion and find out your child's perspective on what has happened. Because again, see, you're training a child, and like anything that you're training, they also have their perspective on the training that you're giving them.
Yes.
So, and that review that you get is very fundamental to kind of understanding, okay, maybe I've got this right, maybe I've got this wrong, maybe we need to. Again, I mean, my daughter has spoken to me before about someone catcalling her. And I said, okay, so what did you do about it? Well, Dad, I started working very fast. And I tried to get myself out of the situation as quickly as possible. So again, I said, yes, I mean, that's the right step to take.
So will you say that taking those steps must have come from some of the things you must have told her?
Oh, yes. I mean, again, she's growing, she's becoming a woman. And becoming a woman means, I mean, whether she realizes it or not, there will be certain changes, and she needs to be responsible enough to manage those changes. Men will always see a beautiful woman and say hello, but again, as a woman, you should understand how to set boundaries. And those boundaries determine how they speak to you. And this is why there's so many things that are quite important. The way you dress, the way you speak. A lot of those things, whether you realize it or not, as a young adult, male or female, I mean, there's a lot of non-verbal communication through that process. Now, if you dress in a certain way, and you know, okay, I mean, we've heard all sorts of things, I mean, in our time. I mean, you dress exposing your body in a certain way, and it's your body, I mean, I choose to dress the way I want to dress. And you hear things like, I'm dressing for my own pleasure and my own happiness. Yes, you're right. You are dressing indeed for your own pleasure and your own happiness. But there are people that will communicate with you based on the way you are dressed. Again, I mean, something that comes into mind is the NSAS issue, where a lot of young men were targeted because of the way they dressed and the way they looked. Again, it shows you, I mean, again, even though that's kind of like I don't, what's the word? Kind of like a wrong approach by the police, or wrong perception by the police. But again, it shows you very clearly that people pick up non-verbal cues just by that first impression.
There's something you can't control it.
You can't control it. 100%. Yes. You can't hide it. So you might say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'll just wear a very tight hot pants and walk on the street. But we're men, and we know how men think. When a man sees you like that, you're a sexual object. Now, yes, you might be intelligent, you might be brilliant, there might be a lot more about you.
That's what he sees first.
But the first thing And you know, we say this always, first impressions, they count. They matter. So, and if you're unfortunate that that's how you're perceived, then oftentimes, yes, I mean, you might show your brilliance in several aspects, but a lot of times it still comes back to that first impression, whereby the person still thinks, So again, I think one of the things I try and make sure that, my daughters understand is those things count. And I understand that they're young women, they also want to experiment. There's also possibly the enjoyment of the attention that you get from, exposing certain parts of your body. But the general advice is, listen, there's a price to pay for that enjoyment. And oftentimes it's better to be modest. And yes, maybe you can enjoy your beach body in certain environments. When you are on the beach,
what environment,
yes,
that sort of,
yes,
and that conversation has to happen, so that they understand they got it from, say, the parents,
yes,
and they can use that to form some kind of pedestal for what they think,
yes,
moving forward. It's interesting that this is a lot of insight into it, but we have people watching that probably are to-be parents, or people that have been there and made the mistakes, or those that sort of maybe are thinking about the future, marriage, parenting, and all that. What do you think will be the best route? Where can they get information? How do you have different quote unquote mentors from afar? Maybe a family you like, but you don't necessarily know how or if there are even things that are even working properly for them. So I know it's not a one size fits all, but it's so strange because at some point you might just be alone. Because number one, the scenario of your kids can be different from others. And at the same time, you may not even have the proper how would I put it, not even the upbringing, but the proper character. So you can deal with it as a parent. But at least on basics, say, an experienced guy clearly knows how he used to step to babes on the streets, right? And that's the best person to talk to. To his daughter about that conversation. Same thing goes for a guy that has been there, done a lot of stuff, and telling his son that, look, guy, calm down. All these things you enjoy them, So how do you balance that? I know it's not but how do you balance that?
So I wouldn't say there's a one size fits all. There are as much ideas about parenting as there are parents and as there are people. Everybody has the idea on what is right. However, there are certain fundamentals. As a parent, I think one of the things that is, we can measure it even from our own generation. Yes, there might be situations whereby, the guy that came first in class eventually ended up with a rough patch and all that. But I can mention so many people that I know that came first in class and leaders today, and everything. And those that came last in class, either did or they've abused certain substances and they don't have their minds together again. And at times, I know where this at times stems from. At times it stems again because, again, when you look at the political class, you see, especially in Nigeria, you see quite a number of people that probably maybe have little or no formal education. Oftentimes, they're dragging themselves in court on who finished primary 6 and who finished secondary school, and you're wondering, with all my university education and masters and everything, this guy, ends up being the guy that is leading or whatever. But I don't think it follows that pattern at all. because you got to also understand that education is not only academic, and that's a mistake oftentimes we make. Education is beyond academics. There's a lot of soft skills. There's a lot of the ideas on interpersonal skills, how to deal with people, how to
you're playing a game,
Yes.
team up with, you're in different teams, you learn how to work in teams.
Yeah.
You in school, they're teaching you how to not only network, social skills,
True.
sports,
True.
you know, all of that stuff that just teaches you the soft skills.
They do a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the arrogance of the title that you get when you finish from university, or you have a bachelor's in this, or a master's in this,
Yes.
or you have a doctorate in this, or whatever. That arrogance at times makes you believe that the other guy did not get an education from the streets, did not understand how to deal with people, did not understand how to network, how to form teams, how to build loyalty. You see, because all those things are important and they go a long way.
Very important.
And obviously, if you're going to be a successful leader or politician, or you're going to be influential with men, then you have to have those skills
Yes, we're going to deal with a lot of people.
Because you're going to deal with a lot of people.
Yes.
You have to understand, you have to be perceptive, you have to be
Yes.
precise
Yes.
in a lot of situations. And what you find is that a lot of times, the average guy that finishes from university or has a master's, when he gets his title, he says, oh, well, I'm better than all these guys that didn't go to school. What do they know? I have BSc and I have MSc. But you've forgotten also that the other guy might not have the formal academic qualification,
exactly.
but he has learned
The other,
through a process how to deal with people, how to win favors, how to influence men, how to speak to his constituents. That might also be largely uneducated.
yes.
So when you-
Imagine speaking in front of those uneducated
Yes.
people and speaking in
And speaking their language, but they don't get speaking Queen's English. Well, I just want to tell you guys that I am going to build your society. And someone else come and said, yes, of me.
Yes, they're speaking, you're coming down to their level.
So when you come down to that level, who do you think they're going to trust?
Yes, and there's a lot of emotional intelligence.
Yes. So there is. So like I said, for new parents, it's them understanding that they have to be very observant. They have to be very dedicated.
They're very present.
And they have to make sure that they deal with issues as they occur. Again, parenting is not one of those things that you leave things for the back burner.
Yeah.
You try your very best to deal with issues as they occur. And if you're very present in your child's life, it doesn't matter what the issues are. In time, they dissipate. Every human being, there's still human being on the face of the earth that doesn't have a challenge. We all have challenges, and the challenges at times come in different ways. But the guy who stands up and says, okay, I have this challenge and I'll work at it. And the guy who decides to hide his head in the sand, who do you think is going to succeed? So it's just what it is. If you deal with the challenges and you support your children, they have a better chance at being successful. Yes, you might have outliers, and at times we hear of outliers and situations whereby the parent might say, well, I did everything for this child,
And this
is how they turned out. Well, it's possible, but I'm sure if we look at that process introspectively, we might actually find out that there were things you didn't do.
Yeah, and then also you can find some positive parts of why that child is like that. So, Kole, thanks for coming. It's great having you share such, we believe that this platform is something that, people want to hear from experiences and all of that. And, this has just done it. I look forward to the larger group, and when we're going to have some of the conversations with, a lot of the lads that we've been speaking about, or close friends, gone around the world, understand what's going on. But for me, what are your last words? What do you have to tell us?
Yes, so I think, for new parents and those of us that have been in the parenting game for a while, I mean, they're fundamentals. And I think one of the biggest fundamentals is love. As the Bible says, love conquers all. I mean, I was brought up by a single mom, and new likewise was brought up by a single dad. And I think one of the things that was very, very fundamental in our home was that it was very, very clear that there was love.
Yes, I miss the discipline.
Yes, I miss the discipline.
For sure.
I always had that sense that it wasn't malicious and it was for a good cause. I don't think at any point in time my mom went overboard with discipline. It was there. I mean, there were the spankings and all that, but I always knew it was for a good cause. I knew it was her trying to shape the best version of me that she could. So there's a lot of this discipline, there's emotional support, and providing that emotional guidance for your child. And what I mean by that really is them understanding their emotions and being able to manage it, so they don't end up very erratic. And again, things that could be dealt with very easily. I mean, they turn a mountain into a molehill. And at times, we see that even with couples.
Yes.
Oh yes, I mean, okay, it's not working out well between both of us, so let's destroy both our lives, and by extension, you destroy the lives.
You don't think about the past, you don't think about the future, you just make it
just an emotion based. And oftentimes, those emotions will dissipate after a while, and then you can see clearly when you destroy so many things. So it's important that we guide our children emotionally also, and we teach them how to manage their emotions. The emotions are there as tools to help us when we feel threatened and all that. But again, there are ways that we can manage it rather than being very, very uncontrollable, or if there are ways that can be managed. Again, it's also important to lead by example. As a parent, you're not going to be perfect 100% of the time. But as much as possible, project the image that you want your children to become. And what I mean by that is trying to avoid unnecessary conflicts in the home that your children can see. Yes, I mean, there will be conflicts, but I mean,
how do you handle that?
Handle it in a way.
I like something you said also about how you need to let them know the situation. So if some things that happen, there's some kind of issue, in your own way, interpret it to them, so let them understand.
Make it age appropriate.
Exactly.
So age appropriate.
So you're sending information. So let's say you have kids in like 3 generations. The communication is different.
Of course it is. It is different. I mean, because if they're a lot older, they're more like adults, and let's say maybe there's a financial issue. Yes, you can explain it in a way to the child that is almost an adult or is an adult already. But again, the child that is 4 or 5 years old does not understand anything about the economics of the home or the financial situation. It's really not. There's no place for that. So, but like I said, communication is very, very key. Even when you discipline, make sure they understand why they're being disciplined. And all that. And I think, those things, love, discipline, boundaries, emotional support,
being present,
and communication. I think those are very, very, very key. And I'm sure there are probably a whole lot of other things that would ensure. But again, like I said at the very get-go, the power of observation is key. And once you're observing, again, make sure that you're not just observing and doing nothing.
Perfect.
You're observing and you're putting in the work to make sure that you build a wholesome, well-rounded child.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kole. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and being here. Thank you.